Hey guys, we are Dustin Bryson and Jordan Moeller of Public Art Company, and we're starting this podcast. Why?
And it's called?
What? The podcast?
Yeah.
We don't have a name yet.
I know.
We don't have a name. But we're starting this podcast for all of you out there that have a dream to start your own company. Maybe you want to start a side hustle.
We should call it Dream Crushers.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the name of this podcast, for real, Dream Crushers. So you have to come up with a logo.
Great.
I used to have Saint City Dreamers, so this is the next one. We're going to crush your dreams. Anyway, this is for you if you're a person who is interested in starting your own company. Maybe you've already started your own company and you want to hear from a couple of just regular Joes who own their own company for the past 6-7 years, right? 5 years. I'm always going to add a little to it, man.
I know.
You got to put a little butter on that bun. Anyway, and we've made a lot of mistakes. So this podcast is the format of this podcast. So, because if, we're very early in on this podcast, we want you to keep listening. But the format is this. We're a couple of Joes that started a company.
Stop saying we're a couple of Joes.
We're a couple of bros who started a company.
God,
and
it's worse.
We are trying to figure out day to day how to do it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to tell stories on this podcast, and we're going to dissect those stories and tell you about the good, the bad, the ugly. And then sometimes we're going to have guests on the podcast.
Friends.
Hold on. Don't move.
Ow. Get out of here.
Wish.
I wish we could start over again.
Did you make a wish? You're not supposed to tell us the wish. You had an eyelash. So again, we started Public Art Company in 2018. Tell us that story.
2018 was the year I started Public Art Company. Yeah, my wife gave me the opportunity to start my own business. So it's really thanks to her.
Female empowerment.
Yes. We were foster parents, and one of us needed to have a flexible schedule. And she said, if you're going to start your own business, do it now. And so I quit my job so I could do the day-to-day foster care stuff. And I inherited screen printing equipment from a previous failed venture. And so I did design and print in November 1st of
a previous failed venture that you were a part of.
Yes.
Don't act like
I said I inherited it. That would assume I was in relation with.
Do you know how inheritance works?
Yeah. You're in relation with something and you inherit it.
Maybe not. Maybe your old Uncle Festus dies and you don't even know that guy. And then you get $1 million in a creepy mansion.
I would love that. Festus, if you're out there, die so I can have your creepy mansion. In
2018, Kim gives you an ultimatum.
No, she gives me an opportunity, not an ultimatum.
That's what I meant.
So yeah, November 1st, 2018, I decided on the name Public Art Company. I was actually going to bring some friends on who had jobs, but I didn't want to do it alone.
You dodged a bullet there.
Yeah. And I was like, if I ever get too busy, knowing I would never get too busy, I was like, I'll throw some work your way. And that never happened.
You never got too busy.
Yeah, never got too busy because I spent all my time looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have so much work, I had to actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would do the work and not look for the work.
Right.
This is the one. I didn't have any work.
This is the key problem of starting your own company and wearing all of the hats.
Right.
When you're the head of marketing, head of HR.
It might be fashion forward, but.
Head of graphic design, head of everything.
A lot of heads, a lot of hats.
Yeah. I think it's just one head, lots of hats. I don't think you understand the analogy.
Saying head designer.
Oh, yeah.
Head print. Head honcho.
Yeah. And so that is hard. And so the people at home, I mean, think this through. Ideas are really fun. Ideas are fun to sit and dream about the thing. And then the actually doing the thing is...
Starting is fun too.
Starting's fun.
Maintaining is what sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that when you were creating the original Public Art Co-brand, you had a bunch of them, but one of them was a wolf because we were the Wolf Pack,
PAC acronym.
Public Art Company.
Yes.
And you liked groups or something? Why did you want to be a pack?
It was the mentality of like, we're doing this together. Like, come in. I wanted to be kind of a safe space for artists and other creatives. In theory, all of that was great, but in all actuality, I hate people. And so,
yeah, you're an introvert.
I'd rather keep my distance, but I want you to didn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
But I like the idea of a pub and a public house. And so the thought was always like, there's a bar that separates me from the other creatives, and I'm behind the bar drinking beers and
but you don't drink.
ink.
You don't drink. You're sober, and you don't like people.
Correct.
But you thought, let me start a public house.
Yes.
You're an imbecile.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that I'm here.
Yes. This is when Dustin enters the picture and saves us all.
So yes, I actually found Jordan on he was shivering.
I was the marketing king. I was just posting one picture at a time on Instagram, throwing prayers up, saying, that is find me work.
Yeah, that is marketing. That's how you market.
That's exactly how you market.
Yep. Man, that's why you're doing so well. So you started that, but I did find him. I don't remember exactly how, but I'm assuming it was because of a hashtag, and I found you and I hired you to do a design project that I was working on. I had a company called Wander Books, and we were making pocket-sized coffee journals, I guess.
Passports?
We called it a passport, but really it wasn't a passport. It was a journal. And I mean, if you think like field notes, but way cooler.
Wow, that was bold.
Shots fired. And so I wanted to do coffee maps.
And I said, that's stupid. No one will buy that.
And you said, I don't really want to make these because, and I'm like, all you have to do is trace the Google map, dude. It's not that hard.
I remember when you reached out, and I like flipped through your little Instagram, and I was like, dude, I want one of those books. Maybe if he hires me to do something, I can get a free book and not actually have to buy one.
The $10 book.
Dude, I was starting a business. I was broke as hell.
Oh my gosh. So I hired you to do that map, actually.
Yeah, you guys can't see it because it's
refracting light.
Refracting, shiny.
But yeah, that's
not actually the poster. That's the transparency film.
Right.
For
that's the transparency film that went from a positive to a negative so it could go back to a positive.
Correct.
Yeah, I know it's correct. I'm
just
super
like
smart.
Your life.
Yeah, my wife. Freudian slip. Ooh. My life.
Whoopsie.
My life does go from negative to positive sometimes. So anyway, that's what I hired him to do, and then he told me his price, and I was like, "What?"
And you're like, "No."
I couldn't afford it.
You're like, what if we put Public Art Company on the poster too? And I was like, well, your money would be better, but I'll settle.
Yep. And so he's easy to talk into things. He's not really a salesman. I'm kind of a salesman.
No,
and
I just wanted to do cool then. I still just want
I guess we're swearing on this podcast.
Yeah, you can beep it out.
I know I can't. That's more work. I'm leaving it in. Your family can listen to it. They can hear Daddy has a potty mouth. Okay. So I hired him to do this poster, and then I talked him into putting his name on the poster so I didn't have to pay him.
Pay as much.
That's right. And then we decided to be partners.
Correct.
And we sold the crap out of those posters, and the markup was insane.
Yeah. Yeah. But they sucked.
The
process sucked, the whole process.
Listen, you are a grouchy old man.
It was great for you because you were just counting dollars.
That's
me,
right.
I'm sitting here pushing water-based ink onto black paper.
That's what you do. That's your part of the business.
It sucked.
Yeah, but we made a lot of money.
Yeah, and we had to do it over and over again. And then we had to switch the map from St. Louis to St. Charles, and I had to do it even more until we got to the point where I'm like, I'm done. Let's sell the print equipment.
Yeah, everybody loved him, but we don't do that anymore. So that's how we met. We sat down at a coffee shop, and I convinced him. I don't know if that's where it happened.
Yeah, Sucrose.
Yeah, so we were at Sucrose, and I convinced you that we should work together. And you were like, I'm wildly attracted to you, so...
Yeah, that's not exactly how I remember it.
That's how it happened.
But I was explaining my workflow, and you're like, what if I just sell your work? And I was like...
Because you didn't like selling.
That sounds great. We've established that I don't like people, and selling involves...
That's true.
Face-to-face time.
That is true. So we partnered up in late 2018, I think it was, or early 2019.
It might have been early, like 2019.
Okay. So we partnered up, and we were both, I had a full-time job, and I was working that full-time job and trying to side hustle, get some work for Jordan, and then also get some work for myself because I am a marketing expert.
Oh, an expert.
Uh-huh. And I'm also a video production and photographer. So I was trying to get work for us, but through those mediums. And I wanted a building.
Yeah. That was the goal. Stack cash, get a building.
Yeah. Stack cash, get a building. You were working out of your basement. I was just working wherever my laptop was, but you had the screen printing equipment in your basement.
Yes.
That was 5 years ago.
My wife wanted that out of the basement, which I don't blame her because...
Well, you were in a much smaller house then too.
Yeah. Well, I had a 4-color 1-platen press, and then we purchased that 6-color 4-platen press, which was massive. Yeah. And we had to get it in a basement. And then we purchased a conveyor dryer and all this other print equipment to help grow the print aspect of the business.
And those were good choices.
They were good choices, yes.
We've made a few good choices in our time.
Yeah.
Those were good choices to make. It streamlined and helped the print side of our business grow. We could do things faster, more efficient, and better. But it also took up an inordinate amount of space, and so we needed a location. So I think you've told the story before where you thought, oh, we're never going to have a building. We can't have a building. We're too small time. And then we got our first building.
Yeah,
in Frenchtown.
I was hesitant on just the overhead. I had bootstrapped everything up until that point. Even before public, I was JT Moeller Design Company because I didn't know what to call it. And I was doing that for, I think, a year prior to announcing like the public name. And so I had some experience in the world before I was just like, I'm going to go for it. Sorry, I'm just doing that to frustrate you.
Mission accomplished. So we started that. We found a building in Frenchtown, which was at the time was sort of the crackhead section of our little town here.
Yeah, kind of just forgotten about. Really cool area, not a whole lot in it. I think at the time there was an outdoor shop and bridal shops and
antique shops.
One guitar store. A lot of antique
junk stops.
Not antique stores, junk stores.
Yeah. Well, it was the place in town that you could afford. If you're starting something up, you know, and you wanted to be somewhere semi cool. And it's not cool for everybody. Like it wouldn't have been cool for anybody that wasn't a little bit gritty, which I don't understand how the bridal shops worked. Because that's an elegant, nice thing.
I think it's space and price is why it worked for them. People just they'll travel for wedding stuff. I mean,
I know, but when you get down into Frenchtown, you look around, you're like, I might get stabbed.
But in that section where all the bridal shops are, it was probably the nicest section at that point.
That's true. And exposed brick and stuff, 800-year-old buildings. And so we moved in to 1100 North 2nd Street, and
I think it was like a year from the time I announced Public Art Company. So from November 2018 to November 2019, I think maybe we moved in September.
I don't remember. I know it was still nice
but
out.
We had some stuff to do before we grand opened.
Yep, we did some construction work. But the thing about this thing for us was, at that point, did I still have a full-time job?
Yeah, you went full-time like February 2020, right before the pandemic when everything shut down.
That's right. So I still had a full-time job, but we were going to take on this overhead. And if you're a business person and you're thinking about starting your company, think about overhead. We've come full circle and we'll get to that. But overhead that you're like, oh man, can we really swing $800,000, $900,000 a month for the building? That's just the building.
Yeah.
That's not the next $400 to $600 for insurance, internet.
We did all this,
power.
I think, before pay. I was taking draws, but they were very, very little. I don't know if you were even taking draws until you went full time.
Yeah.
And then when you went full time, you were taking a full draw and I was taking half of what you were taking. Because obviously you quit your job. Yeah. My family was relying on my wife, who's a boss. Yeah. So it was like, I had a big question mark with money in taking that step for the overhead. You were like, I've done this 100 times. I've opened up 97 million LLCs in my life and we can do this.
Exaggerations.
Were they?
97 million?
Or maybe I added the million.
Yes, I think you're right. And I wasn't concerned. Lots of entrepreneurs are generally fairly willing to swing the bat. They're not usually that nervous about money and stuff, but we've bootstrapped everything. We didn't have loans. We went in and we would just very, very carefully pinch pennies. So we ended up getting this building and we did some construction on it. We did it ourselves to save money.
I think we had like $1,000 budget that you wanted to spend $300 on a coffee table.
Okay, geez, Luis, this guy, he can't let the thing go. The coffee table was dope. We went to IKEA and it was dope. But we ended up buying desks and some other things, and we opened up for business. And I think we filed the proper paperwork. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure we've ever filed proper paperwork.
No, I think we are now. I think we're legit now.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure till March. Then we have to do it again. I'm on top of it. So that was what we did. And we took a risk, and it was awesome. I love Frenchtown to this day. It's grown a ton, and it's an area of town. We were there this morning getting our coffee from our favorite little coffee guy. It's just got a lot of community, and it was what we were wanting to do, but we moved out of there, and we're going to get to that. Why did we move? What was our plans for growth? But for now, I think just leaving listeners with this idea that if you want to start something, I think this is really important. When is it appropriate to jump from your full-time gig to full-time your own gig, meaning your full-time employment with a company to full-time on your own gig? A big thing for me, and I think for you too, was I could never do this without my wife, because she's a teacher and she brings the insurance into the family. Mm-hmm. And bringing the insurance into the family is key. I have a wife and 2 kids. You have a wife and 53 kids or something like that.
That's an exaggeration.
How many do you have?
5.
5 kids. And you have to have insurance, even though insurance is a scam. And we can talk about that at another day.
I hope we don't.
Oh, I do. I'm angry. I get angry about it.
I get it. It's just not interesting to me.
It's pretty interesting that insurance, somebody decided we're just going to charge people money, and then they convince the government to make it illegal for you not to have this thing, and they convince doctors to overcharge for everything. That's really interesting. There should be a documentary. I can't believe there's not. It's called Ripping Off the Peoples. That's what it should be called. But if you're going to start your thing, when does it make sense to jump? And here's our story. Our story was he was jumping because of foster care and needing to be available for his family. If you don't know about foster care, there's doctor's appointments and therapies and
tons of things that happen in the middle of the day.
Right. You have to be
working
available.
Hours.
You have to be available to take phone calls, go to meetings,
go to court.
Exactly. So that was a life catalyst for you to do this.
Right.
Not have a full-time job where you had to have hours somewhere else. For me, I was a creative director, and I approached the organization that I worked for, and I said, hey, I've started this thing with a friend of mine. Would you guys consider hiring us as your creative agency? You'll have graphic design, you'll have video production, you'll have marketing, you'll have social media marketing, all the things I do now. I'll do everything I do now for you, but I'll do it for my own company. And you won't have to pay workers' comp. You won't have to pay my insurance. You won't have to pay half of my taxes or part of my taxes. And they jumped at it.
Yeah.
And so that was an awesome thing. If they would have said no, there's no way we're doing that. And by the way, we retained them for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But if they would have said no, I'd still work there probably.
Yeah.
I'll still be there.
Not only that, that was right before COVID. So, right before everything shut down. And I don't know what it would have looked like if we didn't have that. That was the biggest client for, I don't even know how long.
Years.
Yeah.
That was our biggest client. And so those are the things that you have to think about when you're starting this thing. I recommend, if you're starting a business, to put 100% of the money that you make for your profit from the company back into the company for at least 1 full year.
Yeah.
You can assume you're not going to make money. You're probably going to lose money in that first year. But if you do start to make profits, start to stack that money.
And that's what we did like pre-public for my family is everything I made went into a business account and I only took draws when our family needed it. And so I was able to upgrade the press, upgrade the conveyor dryer, like all these different print things that built the business, I was able to do with cash instead of taking out debt.
Mm-hmm. Right. And debt is not a bad thing. I mean, lots of companies can use debt really well. They can use loans and things of that nature and pay them off. And it helps their cash flow, because cash flow is really important. If you get to the payroll time, or you get to a time where you have to buy more raw goods, raw materials for the thing you're making, and you can't do it, then you go, oh no, what do I do? And then you put it on a credit card, and now you're paying 27% on top of that. That's your profit margin that you're taking away. What if your profit margin is 30% and you're paying 27% to the credit card company?
Right.
You're at 3%. You're never going to be able to make it there. So it's always thinking about those things and making those tough decisions, but making those right decisions. So I recommend staying at that job until the amount of money that you stack profit-wise in the bank is enough to pay you for a year and your overhead. So if that takes a year, cool. If that takes 2 years, cool. If that takes 5 years, cool. We have a mutual friend that's one of our clients who still works his full-time job, but he also works his side hustle, and his side hustle is killing.
Yeah.
You would think that he would be able to quit and just do that, but he's being very smart. He did take a loan, and so he's trying to get that paid back, so that by the time that's all paid back, his loan is done, he's paid it off, he can step right into being, that full-time owner.
I've always heard of it as like do both until you can't do both anymore. Right. In a sense, like you don't have the bandwidth to do both, so you just give it your all on both ends.
Yeah, you burn the candle at both ends.
Yes, which is great when you're single and you don't have any responsibilities and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, or you're young, but like when you have a family, it's different.
Well, and we're going to get into this in future podcasts, but also selling your time a service, which is what we do. Selling your service only allows you to make, there is not an exponential, you cap out. There's not an exponential amount of money that you can make because there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in deciding how you kind of want to live and what your purpose is. For some people, their purpose might be make $1 million. And for other people, their purpose might be to make $50,000 a year and just be happy and work less. Maybe they only want to work 4 hours a day and only make 50,000, and that's what they need. So it's figuring all that stuff out and moving forward. Some people start those side hustles and they do pretty well because it's just like their fun money. And I think that's pretty cool. So just having those thoughts, but really thinking things through and not just allowing the blue sky idea time, the fun, exciting starting time, which is what we both love.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Finally maybe come up with an idea that allows something to start, get us paid, and then end.
Yeah.
And then we can start something else, whereas before it's like we've created our own just spanking machine of having to do the same thing over and over and over again. So, well, I think this is a pretty cool episode. I don't know that everybody knows that much about Public Art Company yet, but we'd like to welcome you to follow us on social media. We have an Instagram.
We do.
And a Facebook.
And
YouTube. Nope. We have a YouTube channel. So we'd love you to like and subscribe.
We got a TikTok?
Not yet. No. We may get a TikTok at some point. I'm done with I don't think I'm going to keep going with the Burbs TikTok. So if I have the time and energy, I'll put some time. We'll do a lot of dancing on that one, I think.
I hope not.
Yeah. It'll be fun. So until next time, guys, we just hope you will stick with it. With what's
the tagline you're going with?
What's the name of our podcast again? Wicked Pissa?
Dream Crushers.
Okay, so hey,
like we crush dreams, like in a good way.
Oh yeah,
like Orange Crush.
Okay, yeah, you're crushing it.
Yeah. Not we're gonna kill your dreams.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you could just take it
either way.
Yeah. Either way, it's all good. So and so until next time, keep crushing your dreams.
Yeah, that's terrible. Maybe we rethink that. You're not helping our cause.
And cut. I love it.